Hello everyone, Dan here from the Next Issue Podcast. On today's video, we'll be doing a review for Andor Season 2, Episode 3, Harvest. Maybe, just maybe, the best hour of television in Star Wars media. Um, it's been 24 hours about since I watched this episode, and I'm still thinking about it. There's so much to dive into, so much happened. Before I get into spoilers, there are some great performances, including Guinevere O'Reilly in the role of Mon Mothma. She is giving this character just to so much to really color the character who we eventually will know in the films that we never really got to spend much time with, and it's great. I think Tony Gilroy. You can kind of tell that this is maybe one of their favorite, like just a favorite character favorite, because it's very well done. Also, the character of Deidre in this Imperial role continues to just impress me. Denise Go is doing some almost the opposite of Genevieve O'Reilly, where Genevieve's face is very expressive, and you can kind of tell that she's hiding, and there's a lot of contradiction in her emotions. Whereas Deidre, Denise Go's character, you can't tell. She has no emotion in her face ever, and it is the most intimidating thing I've ever seen in Star Wars. Like, she is bona fide villain, and I'm actually pretty scared for Andor and all the people that work with him and will see him with in the next few weeks, in the next few weeks and the next few episodes, because I don't know what Deidre and all those Imperials have in mind, but we know that it's not going to be good for anyone that has crossed the Empire. So let's get into the spoilers. Of course, it goes without saying, Cassian is just, top notch. Diego Luna is the whole reason that I think he's the whole reason that this show was eventually made, just because of his own charisma and like, but now that we have all these other characters and we have so much time to play with them, it is really, really fun to dive into this world. So let's get into it. All right. So we left off with Cassian escaping from the worst band of rebels in history. He's stuck kind of in space. He doesn't know where to go, so he tries to use the radio. In the meanwhile, we see in the planet where Bix is and Brasso, and like, while they're hiding, there's this sort of community dinner that they have, and I really like this place because it feels on the surface feels like a peaceful place, but of course we know that there's a lot going on. Of course, Bix and Brazos and Will are kind of refugees there, right? They don't have any documents. The Empire is definitely looking for them, and they're just kind of left at the will and at the behest of people that are willing to help them, which is this community that they've kind of settled with for now while they wait for Cassian. But they get notice of an upcoming inspection, so they kind of have to just drop everything and try to figure out what their next step is going to be. And then we have the third story here. The wedding days coming up, right? When Mothma is almost, she's having kind of second thoughts because this was never supposed to be for her, the wedding. Like, she was never, her daughter was never supposed to kind of go through with all this. It was a ploy for her to be able to work through some financial circumstances in the first season, but now it's all led to this. So now I feel like she feels like she's kind of pushed her daughter into this, although her daughter doesn't feel that way. One thing that's really cool about this wedding ceremony is when the creators of the show get to expand and just like make up these type of rituals and ceremonies, right? There's like all this pomp and circumstances happening in this episode for the wedding. Um, Next, we move on back to Didra and Cyril, who are hosting a dinner party. It turns out to be for Cyril's mom, who, if you remember from season one, she's a piece of work. That's the most polite thing I'll be. That's the most polite way I can describe that character. She's a piece of work. Um, Also, Cassian finally gets a hold of the shopkeep, and he's able to at least let them know that he's okay, but he's not able to get a lot of detail. Right, radio communications are bad, and he realizes that Bix and them are in trouble, so he needs to get back to them. Back to Deidre and the dinner party. She realizes that, like I said, Cyril's mom's a piece of work. She's manipulative. She keeps putting Cyril down. I don't know what I don't know what Deidre's special connection is with Cyril, but she pretty much gives the mom an ultimatum, and she changes her tone. It's really it's such an interesting sequence because we know all the horrible things these people are doing, but still they have these characters deal with also like normal kind of everyday stuff. Kyle Solar does a really good performance. He plays Cyril, um, and he he has this scene where he's so deflated from everything that his mom is doing that he's just kind of laying on top of the bed while he excused himself for a second. Oh my god, it is such a really fun moment of levity, especially for everything that's to come. But yeah, Deidre kind of deals with the mom, and she's now kind of playing nice. She's playing ball, and I feel like Deidre is so good at planning that's why it's so scary because she's so good at planning and manipulating people, at finding these weaknesses to get what she wants. And of course, now what she wants is to be on the good side of the empire after all the stuff that happened on Ferrex. Uh, Luthen and his gift is finally not his gift, but the gift that he acquired for someone else for the wedding is finally revealed. It turns out to be one of these statues that are a big part of the culture and in this planet for Mon Mothma's planet. I forget the name, but yeah, it's really interesting. So in this we have this dance sequence that's about as they're about to start performing the ceremony, uh, where there's such magnificent like camera work. We keep following Mon Mothma for she kind of walks through the dance floor as she's kind of moving around the room. We kind of see the conversation with Luthen, because we realize that Tay is definitely cozying up to the bad guys, and I don't mean the bad guys as in the Empire, but I do mean the bad guys as in people who are friendlier to the Empire. And now that he has this information about Mon Mothma, he could use that to leverage his way into the favor of the Empire, into more power, and end up screwing everything over. So Luthen realizes this as well. He puts things into motion, which is a really fun reveal later on what happens. But yeah, next we see Will, as they were about to leave for to avoid the inspection. Will actually went to talk to the girl that he had been kind of being romantic with in the previous episodes. Of course, this messes things up. Like tension is just starting to escalate on all fronts. The wedding, things are happening at the wedding. Of course, we know Cassian is stranded in space and he's trying to get back. And then, of course, this inspection's coming up, and those Imperials are going to be soon on the heels of our protagonist. Everybody, Bix and Brasso and all the people. Um, we then have Brasso is captured by some Imperials, and he acts like, to me, this is the way I read the scene, because it's a great performance. I think, um, there's really not a lot of places where these actors sometimes have the ability to really go all out. But in this case, Brasso acts like Kel, the shopkeep that was helping them out, sold him out in order to, the way I read it, to save his life, to erase any doubt that from the Empire's mind that he was helping him out, right? By pretending that he believed that he had accused him and brought him to the Empire, and it was his fault that they were kind of getting captured. Um, Bix, in the meanwhile, that officer from the previous episode uh, gets attacked pretty violently. It's a very, very strong scene. I will say that. So, make sure that you're in a good headspace, especially when it comes to the last third of the episode. Things are just escalating in tension, and things get very real for a lot of these things. A lot of things reflect themes that are very true to everyday life as well for a lot of people. So it's pretty intense. And then we see back to the party. We see Sintra um, arrives to pick up Tay as his driver, but we know that she works for Luthen and the rebellion, and she's there to clean up the mess. So I don't think we'll be seeing Tay anymore in the future. We don't really see what happens to Tay ultimately, but don't expect to see that character around very much. We then see Cassian finally arrives on the planet to help. He takes out a bunch of the Imperials with that TIE Avenger. I did learn that it's called the TIE Avenger. Thanks to all the people that chimed in on that. And then, of course, he's able to escape with Biggs and Will, but Brasso did die in the chase. He was shot. I think he was just shot by a random Imperial shot, which is the worst part, right? Normally, stormtroopers are not very scary because we know that they're fighting like the all powerful Jedi. But when it comes to just regular people, like stormtroopers have the upper hand. These Imperials, even in smaller groups, even if it's only like 5 or 6 of them, they have the upper hand against regular people, and that is scary. And then to close out, we intercut with the music from the party, which is like this pop techno type of song, and we see Mon Mothma just like she she is in a bad state of mind. She's drinking. She knows what has to happen to Tay. She knows what she's done to her daughter. Like it feels like she's kind of everything that's happened to her is coming to a head. So she starts drinking and she's dancing in this very exaggerated manner, and it's a really intense scene, juxtaposed with Cassian and them trying to get away from the Empire. It's very well edited. I think it looks really cool. It really makes you feel like something's about to go really, really bad, and it already has, but you never know if there's going to be more troubles. Very, very intense scene. Like I said, kudos to Genevieve O'Reilly. She just does such a good job with the scene, the way it was shot, the way it was lit, the way that it was, like the way that it was angled, all the people around her. But yeah, just this super intense, almost frantic feeling comes over at the end of the episode, and then we just stop. And this is it. This is the year one stuff that's happened. This is BBY4. We're gonna move on to BBY3 in the next few episodes. So who knows what's gonna happen in that time in between episodes, right? So that's why they're dropping these 3 at a time. It is some of the best television I've watched, really, over in this year. It's just I love this show, and I know I'm very biased because it is one of my favorite Star Wars shows. But this is just quality stuff. Like even if this wasn't a Star Wars show, this is just quality television. We did finally get to see a few more non-human looking aliens, which was fun. Still not a lot. I feel like the show's still very much trying to keep things grounded with only human looking aliens in the show, or human looking characters for the most part, even though this is in Star Wars. But we get to see a few creatures in the farm, and you get to see a little bit of that. So there's a little bit. If you really pay attention, I feel like there's a lot of fun stuff for like just if you want to be for a Star Wars fan. I will say there's not a lot of aspects of the Force. There's not a lot of things with the Jedi or the dark side. This is very much the Empire against the Rebels, but that's really what Star Wars is all about. Now, granted, the Jedi and the Force users, and Luke, and they all play a big role in it later on. But yeah, I'm very excited to see where we go from here. I'm very wary, but I'm also excited to see what happens in the next few episodes, because no one left this episode unscathed, right? Bix, Cassian, they have all suffered casualties. When Mothma keeps driving down this path where she will eventually become the leader in the rebellion that we know from the films. And then, of course, we know ultimately the fate of Cassian, but we don't know the fate of everyone around him. And I think that's what is worth in this journey. So, excellent, excellent stuff. Tony Gilroy really freaking killing it here. So there you have it. As always, let me know what you thought of this down in the comments as well. And of course, stay tuned. We have more comic reviews, trailer reactions, TV recaps, all that fun stuff here in the channel. Thanks for watching, everyone. Bye bye.